Welcome to a very special edition of This Week in Missouri Politics. We are here on location to bring you Catherine Hanaway, the next Attorney General of the state of Missouri. Catherine, I almost think all your titles are too long to list. It's just, Catherine, thank you for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here, Scott. I'm happy that this is the first interview I'm doing since the governor gave me this appointment. Very, very humbled to get the call to consider this, and thrilled with you. Congratulations on all the success you've enjoyed since we last sat down.
Well, I'm very humbled that you did come here first. You know, when you really stop and look at the past attorney generals, you might be the most qualified person to become attorney general in at least 2 or 3 generations. But really, that makes it a unique appointment. But really, being the first woman, it's got to be an honor. I got to be honest with you. I spent a chunk of my life not really understanding that or noticing it or caring. Then I became a father to a daughter. And I remember vividly, it was in 2016, we had lunch and my daughter was with us. And she was really, took a moment for her to get her mind around that you were running for governor, because in her mind, women, she didn't really relate that as a thing women ran for. And then I'll never forget, I have a video of it, I put it on the internet the other day, of her a couple nights later seeing you on a debate stage and just jumping on the bed and cheering. And I kind of rung home to me that this does matter. It refocuses how people see things. It's got to be a real honor to be the first woman to hold this office.
It is a tremendous honor. And certainly it wasn't the deciding factor, but it was a factor in my decision making, because I have seen, when I was the first woman speaker, when I was the first chair of Hush Blackwell, who was a woman, it does make a difference. And I have to say, one of the funnest moments since I was appointed, I came back to the office and so many of the women associates came to see me and just were so excited. And, it shouldn't make that big a difference, but it does make a little difference in just how you approach things. And I do remember meeting your daughter, and, I remember taking my daughter when she was 6 months old to the legislature, and a bill came up that would require background checks on daycare centers. And there were a lot of people who were opposed to it. And I was like, I've got a 6-month-old in a daycare down the street. Like, I want background checks, it was really important. It was just a little different perspective.
I've found a lot of times the people that break these barriers, they're so focused on the success and doing the things in life that put them in the position to break the barriers. I'm not sure it even means as much to them as it does a lot of other people that are working hard, and it changes their view. And it frankly, there's nothing like a direct example that, yes, a woman is not just could do this job, we only could, but when you see a woman doing the job and doing it well, I think it actually affects everyone around you, maybe more than it does the person breaking the barrier.
Well, I can't be a judge for that, but what I will say is that I'm really honored that Governor Keogh called me. It is hard to leave my partners here at Hush Blackwell. It really has been a tremendous place to be, but it does feel like it was a little bit of a God thing for me. It was such a surprise to get the call, talk to my husband, talk to my kids, prayed about it, had my mom pray on it pretty hard. But it just seems like experience, talent, opportunity all coincided. Unfortunately, it is a big pay cut, but
I would think so.
Yeah. But if you're called to a purpose, it's that matters more than the finance.
My observation of knowing you nearly 25 years now, though, is you're a person who has kept tabs on politics. You've kept tabs on Missouri state government. When people say it's a passion, I think it's not just it's something everybody says, but I mean, I watched you be away from your family, making the majority. Being U.S. attorney, I watched you run for governor. You have been in and around this. You really can walk in there on day one and understand the politics, the law, the administration of it. You really do come in this prepared.
Well, I think I'm prepared for the law, the administration, and to really do good for Missourians. I think I do have some learning curve on all the new people who have come into the political process since, Trump became active. And I'm looking forward to getting to know those people better. And me, I like to actually meet people, meet them on social media.
This was a very Mike Kehoe pick, right? If you were asking me who would Mike Kehoe pick, he would pick somebody that could do the job. And it is a big job. And the list of people that could credibly walk in there on day one and do the job is not long. This was a very Mike Kehoe pick that doesn't surprise me at all that Mike Kehoe called you.
Well, I can't say enough good things about Governor Keogh. Right now I'm the chair of the Regional Business Council here in St. Louis. I'm very active civically. I'm on a lot of boards related to police, like the Police Foundation, St. Louis Crime Commission, Backstoppers, and Governor Keogh has shown up over and over again for law enforcement and for the fight against violent crime, particularly in the St. Louis area. And I'm sure he's doing it all over the state. I'm just living here at the moment.
All right, let's talk about the person that held this office, Andrew Bailey. What a great guy. I mean, a guy that his first actual time on the ballot carried every county in the state. He's going off to be the deputy director of the FBI. I have to say, a little worried about him. Now, you, as a federal prosecutor, you have some idea of the rat's nest he's going into. Boy, that seems like a rough job.
Definitely out of the frying pan into the fire, but I have great faith in Andrew Bailey. He is extraordinarily talented.
Very much.
Accomplished in a short tenure in that office. And particularly, I want to draw focus to what he's done for ensuring public integrity in our elected officials, removing Kim Gardner, the current investigations and prosecutions he has going on with elected officials. He really has held people accountable in ways that we haven't seen an attorney general do in a very long time.
And not just Democrats in St. Louis. Some people say the Benton County treasurer, believe it or not, is a Republican. He has not held back his gaze. And yes, it's higher profile because St. Louis is a more higher profile place, but it's been both sides. He's tried to call the balls and strikes pretty fair.
No, absolutely he has. And he has had a great vision about what issues are going to impact Missouri and willing to be a national leader in litigating some of those issues.
He's going to an organization, though, that, well, I mean, just ask you, in your lifetime, has it ever been viewed worse by the public as the FBI is today? I mean, you have the president of the United States, Joe Biden, pardoned everybody he'd ever met because he knew how corrupt it was. Donald Trump will tell you at any time how corrupt it is. He has his work cut out for him.
He absolutely has his work cut out for him. I think he's going to have a great partner in Kash Patel. I would not be terribly surprised if at some point Andrew is the director of the FBI. And I think he has the leadership skills, the judgment, the personal skills to really inspire agents. And that's the other thing that the current director is trying to do, is to get people out of the administration of the FBI and out working as agents, but specifically combating violent crime and not the more political agenda that they have had in the last several years.
So there's been talk, and I think it was pretty public. Andrew was considered to be the attorney general in some of these jobs, even early on in the Trump administration. But as of right now, this came pretty quick, it felt like. Tell me about the process of how this went from, we might need an attorney general to, would you be the attorney general?
For me, it all happened in a single phone call. I got a call from the governor's office roughly a week ago, maybe 10 days ago now. And I was asked if I would consider it, that General Bailey would be moving on, and would I consider the appointment? And I mean, stunned, shocked, humbled, like all those emotions were there. I'm sure, having been a federal appointee myself, that Andrew's appointment had been in the works for a little while, but it doesn't sound like it was too long.
Felt like it was in the works, but with the Trump administration, things can change quickly, maybe more quickly than some administrations. So
that may be a big understatement.
Like maybe it was here, but what had actually happened, it was a real thing. Yeah, it wasn't a lot of time. So you speak with the governor's office, and then what's that phone call like when you call and say, yes, I'm willing to accept this?
Well, so his staff called initially, which is smart. Like they're doing a lot of things right.
They don't want him to get told no, right? That's every good staff's like that.
And so, get to the point where I was ready to make a decision. And then when I talked to the governor, he was so focused on standing up for the men and women in blue. That is his number one priority. He told me that I could not steal his general counsel, Lowell Pearson. And then he said, I know you're going to do a great job, and thanks for making the sacrifice. I mean, you know him. He gets right to the point. He knows what he wants. But it was wonderful because I've known Mike for such a long time, and I have such high regard for his character.
I think you could make a great argument. Mike was the most prepared person to be governor. Gosh, maybe Lloyd Stark or something. I mean, he had all very similar to you, gets to the point, cares about getting the job done. It's not a coincidence. I don't think you two probably work together very well.
Well, and the thing about Mike that I am so impressed by, I think a higher proportion of people who voted for him have actually know him. He knows their name than anybody who's ever been.
I mean, that's right. I didn't think you could meet enough people to win a gubernatorial primary in the state of Missouri. I'm not sure a big reason he didn't win is because he did meet that many people.
I think that's absolutely.
The guy worked himself to death. It was impressive just from a feat of physically getting to places. And now I see him on Twitter. Now he's in Benton, he's in Jeff City, he's up in Kirksville. The guy's kind of kept some of that barnstorming up.
Oh, for sure. The number of calls I've gotten since Tuesday. Well, you can make it. The governor will be here. Well, you can. The governor will be here. I'm like, hi, stop working so hard.
I saw him in Sedalia at the fair a couple weeks ago, and then the next night I saw him in Sykeston, and I was worn out. But I think that's just a week for him. Yeah. It's impressive. Let's talk about your agenda coming into this. When I think of you, back from when you were Speaker of the House till federal prosecutor, now you talk about crime and prosecuting crime. What do you do in this office to continue that? And how do you integrate the takeover of the St. Louis Police Department, the new police board? What is your role in that?
So I'm going to have two priorities, and they're pretty simple. Fight crime and protect Missourians from anyone who'd rip a law. So whether it's Medicaid fraud or roofers or, some elder abuse scam, fight crime, protect Missourians. And on the fighting crime side, the cooperation with the federal government is critically important. So having General Bailey at the FBI, what Senator Schmidt just did in terms of getting more FBI agents into St. Louis.
Do you trust them?
Do I trust the agents who are coming?
Let me ask you two questions. Do you trust the FBI?
Well, I mean, look.
Or is it a person-by-person basis?
There is a big difference between line agents and leadership, right? Line agents are, and in fact, the way people get promoted within the FBI is different. If you're on the leadership track, you are on the leadership track and you stop working cases, which I think is such a huge mistake. And then you start giving orders. I have great faith in the people who are investigating cases, the line agents. Very suspicious in the past, some of the people giving the orders.
How helpful is it for you to deal with the FBI being a former federal prosecutor? I mean, you kind of know how the world works there.
It's super helpful. And now we have two great United States attorneys in Matt Price and Tom Albert.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be able to work collaboratively with them. And thanks to Andrew Bailey, we've got Gabe Gores prosecuting attorney in the city of St. Louis. So my hope is that we're going to have those three different law enforcement agencies, the feds, the local county prosecutors, and the state AG's office working seamlessly so that we're not overlapping, we're not turfy, and we do the maximum number of cases.
I tell you, Mike Keogh talked about this for a year. They talked about all session. I knew the union leadership would be excited. I knew Jay Schroeder and the guys would be thrilled about this state board. I got buddies that are in the union, but they're not up in the top. How excited they are about, I guess, a week from now. They are thrilled to go hit it harder. The morale boost, I didn't understand what the morale boost was going to be. It is bigger than I ever thought it would be.
Well, it's just a total game changer to have a board that is appointed by a governor who supports the men and women in blue versus working for a mayor who wanted to defund the police.
Yeah.
Just think about that change with that. And we are the board's lawyers. And I mean, they have their own lawyer, but we defend police in these cases that come up. And I'm thrilled that that's going to be part of my duties.
Talk about agriculture. Big thing Andrew Bailey was involved with. I'm sometimes not sure how many people know your backstory. I think they see you as a person very successful here in St. Louis, but you have maybe more in touch with agriculture than a lot of folks that have been Attorney General. Tell folks your background and how that relates to the ag community in Missouri working with you as Attorney General.
Well, I am originally from Clarkson, Nebraska. Population today, 639 people. My family owned the grocery store town. We soon moved to about 10 acres. So I grew up showing horses in 4-H and absolutely loved it. Spent a lot of nights sleeping in horse trailers at state fairs and, all those fun things you get to do when you're involved in the ag community, and my first jobs were hoeing beans and detasseling corn. Um,
I hated hoeing.
it's
When I see one today, it almost does a shiver down my spine.
well, I mean, no one loves Roundup more than babies.
Yeah, all those fancy folks in the trial bar. I get it, but I've never met a person with coarse hands that didn't love Roundup.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And not to mention it helps us feed the world.
Yeah.
I mean, the productivity of ag is so far up. But my heart is very close to the ag community. I think I understand the issues. Always have a lot to learn. They're always changing. So I'm looking forward. One of the first calls I made was to Garrett Hawkins at the Farm Bureau. Hey, can we get a round table together of ag leaders and sit down and brief me up on what's happening right now? And it's just where my heart is. I'm a small town girl at heart. I can't.
So whether you're Casey Wasser at soybean or Brad Shedd at corn or Garrett, you're also going to be open to them, right?
Wide open.
Yeah.
Like I care about Missouri farm families. I want to protect them. My grandmother taught in a one-room schoolhouse. She traded her horse for a Model T. I mean,
It's amazing how things change and they stay the same. When you took the majority, a lot of it was the Second Amendment and then being pro-life. Jefferson County, when you started, was Democrat. It was Democrat Second Amendment and was Democrat pro-life. Now it's Republican Second Amendment pro-life. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Let's talk about the two issues that if we were at Lincoln Day, most of the questions would be about. Second Amendment. I think you've got a long record folks can look at and know you're pro-Second Amendment, but you're going to get asked to defend some laws, if I had to guess. SAPA will be back. What is your take in this job on the Second Amendment?
Well, I'm a strong believer in the Second Amendment. I wish people could meet my son, because I think sometimes if you meet people as kids, you'll understand values they're passing on. And he is an avid hunter, carries pretty much all the time. In fact, I had to ask him not to carry into the Capitol the other day when we had the press conference. One of the great achievements of my time as speaker is that we were able to override the governor's veto and make concealed carry legal in Missouri. And I supported constitutional carry when I was running. I can go on and on with examples, but the bottom line is I support the Second Amendment.
You are a very experienced litigator to go at to defend these laws. I think that is one thing you bring to this office is you know your way around a courtroom, and you know how to manage your team in a different way. Let's talk about the right to life issue. Missouri went from being one of the most pro-life states in the country to being one of the most pro-choice states. The fight may be now, but while it's at the referendum level, it really may be in the courts where the next place to defend life and to actually gain ground is. And that'll fall to you.
Well, and there are pending cases today. So obviously there's a lot of litigation after Amendment 3 about whether it repealed all the pro-life laws that were on the books, and that's being litigated right now by the Attorney General's office. Obviously, we're going to go forward vigorously with those lawsuits, and we're trying to defend the laws that were on the books. And I'm not sure I agree entirely with your premise that we went from being a pro-life state to being a pro-choice state.
The laws did.
I know. Yeah, the laws did, but I don't think the people changed that much. I think that there are a lot of people, a majority of people in Missouri who still believe in the sanctity of human life, but maybe are about where Bill Clinton was, safe and rare, right? And so I firmly believe in the sanctity of life. I'm firmly pro-life. I think most Missourians are, but maybe there was some overreach that opened the door for this amendment.
Talk about how this got there. We'll be right back for just a few more minutes with Catherine Hanaway.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
You know, Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Missouri's childcare crisis is hurting our children, families, and even our economy. Currently, 78 Missouri counties are designated as childcare deserts, where the number of kids needing childcare exceeds the number of available options. Today, some Missouri families are spending more on childcare than housing, and Missouri's childcare shortage costs our economy $1.35 billion every year. Missouri families and businesses deserve better. Learn more at mochampionofchildren.com.
Some politicians claim cockfighting is a proud tradition, but is it really something to be proud of? Cockfighting isn't just cruel to animals, it's cruel to humans. It's linked to organized criminal activity, illegal gambling, even drug trafficking. Leading law enforcement and Christian groups have spoken out and are urging a stop to the violence. But some politicians want to give cockfighters a pass. Keep cockfighting out of our state.
We have a severe weather alert to report here. The storm is also bringing the threat of damaging winds and large hail.
Here's the thing. When storms bear down, we step up.
Ready to begin?
You bet.
Our teams are always ready to keep your power strong. Ameren.com/poweron.
Welcome back this week in Missouri Politics. We are joined by the person most folks in politics call Catherine, the next Attorney General of Missouri. Thank you for sticking with us.
Thank you so much, Scott. Great to be here.
We were talking about the abortion argument. I get to sit up in the peanut gallery and watch. And I watched Republicans being pro-life, that when you were running, you had to go persuade people to vote Republican, to be pro-life. I think the pro-life community in many ways stopped persuading anyone and started screaming at each other. And I think that's part of the reason the laws went with the same population from a very pro-life state to a very pro-choice state legally. I think there might be some folks that are very excited to see you coming back to Jefferson City because none of these people know how to persuade anyone. They haven't had to. You had to persuade people. I think that persuasion is a very important thing because if you stop persuading people, you end up in the spot where you are with abortion now.
Well, that's a very astute point, Scott. And not to get too much into the weeds on the politics, but we did. I saw it happen. There was an evolution from when we were trying to persuade people and change their minds and give them the arguments to vote Republican to one where we were just amping up turnout as much as we possibly could. Then with term limits, we had all these primaries. And so everybody was just trying to get to the right of each other and then amp up their base. And it's not done anything as new generations have become active and are now business leaders and thought leaders. We do have to make the arguments again. And I believe in the arguments, but we have to go out there and explain to people why being conservative is much better for the state than being liberal or going the direction of the coast.
And being pro-life.
And being pro-life.
I think that's let's talk about another, maybe your first high-profile case that'll be originated in your office. The president came out and said Missouri's in on a 7-1 map. I thought maybe he should have let the governor do that, but I guess he did. It does look like that's what's going to happen in September. Probably your first week on the job, the Senate will start the process of making Missouri a 7-1 state. First of all, what do you think of that?
Well, I think that Emanuel Cleaver has been a congressman and before that a mayor who has served with distinction and reached across party lines.
Terrific man.
He is a terrific man. But that doesn't mean that there should be a congressional district that's just drawn for him. If the state really is 7-1 Republican when you divide it up, then that's where we ought to be.
But it's not.
Well, it's not. But it is if you divide it by congressional.
Well, I think this. To me, this is going to happen. I assume Chuck Hatfield will be in court, lickety split, and you'll be standing across from him at some point in front of the Supreme Court defending this. We talked about persuading people. I would love to see an 8-0 Republican map. I don't make bones about it. I've always been a Republican. I was the Butler County coordinator for Matt Blunt's Secretary of State race.
Wait, how young were you when you were mayor?
I was 22.
Oh, my God.
But I go back to, instead of persuading the people of Kansas City to vote Republican, you're rigging the rules to kind of draw some squirrely districts. And look, I think the Illinois argument's terrific. I think that's a very compelling argument. And if Illinois is going to do what they did, I bet you our map doesn't look nearly as bad as theirs when they're done with it. But I do think maybe go persuade those folks in Kansas City to vote Republican. It worked in Independence. They vote Republican now. Maybe go 5 miles down the road and convince a few folks.
Well, and I think it's a two-step process, right? I think the redistricting probably will come first, but we got to go out there and make the arguments. And we have to be careful about how we draw these lines because you don't want to make the districts too swingy either, right? There is the possibility.
It's going to be a different world after Trump. I don't think anybody knows what it's going to look like.
Exactly.
The folks in Independence, I'm not sure. The folks in South County, I'm not sure, are necessarily dyed-in-the-wool Republicans yet. I think they love President Trump. When he's gone, do they go back to their roots? Do they stay Republican? I think it's going to be an interesting thing to watch.
I can't tell you how many people I have met just in daily life who never participated in the process at all before Trump. And you're right. Do they stay? I don't know. They never went to a Lincoln Days. They never voted in a primary or a general election, but they've been compelled by Trump. And a lot of them are working class people. So you're right. Can we hold those people?
I gotta, before we're done, I've got to mention one person. I got to walk over and watch the announcement. And when you go get your driver's license renewed, you see a portrait of Mike Keogh hanging on the wall. The tie he wears is a tie Ron Richard gave him. I felt you could just almost feel Ron Richard in that room. And what I thought of two people. I thought of Lowell Pearson when I walked in that room, and I thought of Ron Richard and how proud he would be to see the two of you at the highest levels of state government working together.
Well, as you know, and you're going to make me choke up, we lost Ron just a couple of years ago, all too soon.
Yeah.
He is a historic figure in Missouri.
Absolutely.
He only person, I think, ever to be Speaker and President Pro Tem of the Senate. But more importantly, just an incredibly good guy. One of the nicest calls I got was from Patty, Ron's widow, just, saying how happy she was to hear his name. And you're right.
Did you ever meet a man that loved this state more?
Not once, and not one who was willing to work harder to actually accomplish things and solve problems. Like, that's what Ron was about, was solving problems.
And when I think of him, I just think of a man that loved the state. And I think of a man who would have been, his chest would have been popping out with pride if he saw the two of you in that room at the top of state government.
And he was a pro bowler. I mean, it shows you that effective public policymakers can come from every walk of life. And that's the great thing about this country, is that it really is real citizens who get involved in this process. And, it's really an honor to have been asked to do this. And it was fun to pay tribute to another great leader.
Catherine, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be back in 2 weeks after Labor Day. But speaking of Labor Day, I want to congratulate a guy who wrapped up a great career. Dave Cook, the former head of UFCW 655, retired this month. A terrific guy. Dave, hope you enjoy your retirement. Labor Day will not be the same without you. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, the United Electric Cooperative, and the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts.